So this time of year, we're all preparing for Easter. And this is a wonderful opportunity this year to really get into all sorts of ways that you can represent that week in the lead up to the crucifixion of Christ and then his resurrection on Easter Sunday. There's one outfit that's been doing something very special for the past 30 years, and they're about to launch this year's season on the 1st, 2nd, 7th and 8th of April. It's called the Moogerah Passion Play. Good to have back in the studio with us today special guests, KOSTI Simons, who was a founder of the Moogerah Passion Play, Mary O'Neill is part of the current committee, and Ray WEILAND is back with us too. He played the part of Christ for the first 2 seasons. Let me come to you first, Ray. Playing the part of Christ in the first 2 seasons of a passion play, the spirituality, the way you dress, the way that everyone's looking at you, you're the central figure, challenging things. And I want to ask you, though, when you're getting to the crucifixion scene, how do you feel when you are, in a dramatised way, being arrested, whipped, nailed to the cross? Give us your impression here of what it's like to play Christ in a passion play.
Very, very scary to start with. Yes, it brings your whole Christian upbringing home to you. I was brought up in a Christian home. I can go through most of the Bible stories with you, but when you've got to learn the parts, you've got to walk the walk, do what has to be done. It's an entirely different life you're walking in. You're walking in somebody else's shoes, and that's the hard thing to do.
Now, it's a while since you played the character of Christ. You were Christ in the first 2 seasons of the Moogerah Passion Play. Whenever you see some of those stories that come out of Southeast Asia, places like the Philippines, where Christ in their depictions of the Passion, oftentimes there are people who are actually being nailed to a cross. Does that ever touch you?
Yes, it makes you think. At least when we did it, I was able to work out the nails and whatever for myself, so it all fitted me. We had to go through all the spear in the side, the whole thing. It took a bit of doing. Takes a bit of putting up with at times, a bit of getting used to, yes.
Is this a dramatic time? 30 years of this production, around about the same times, the sun is starting to go down. Is the crucifixion scene happening after the sun is gone?
Yes, the crucifixion sort of gets to 7 or a bit after 7 o'clock by that stage. You've got to remember the first time we did it in August, which was considered the driest time of the year because we didn't want rain, although that didn't eventuate properly either. One night we had a mad storm I had lightning behind me. No rain, but I had mad lightning behind me, which different ones out in the audience said really looked spectacular. Yes, it's pitch black. It's full dark by that stage, and you're only working with the lighting you have there.
Mary, is there a music track that is playing that creates atmosphere for the audience?
Yes, there is, Neil. It's a great atmosphere. I was just listening to Ray talking about the darkness, and the second half of the play is always performed in darkness, and so it just adds to the visual spectacle because we have the fire torches, and as the Passion's proceeding, it's dark. The moon starts to rise because it's Easter, of course. It's a full moon. It really is a stunning spectacle. We do use a lot of lighting and sound effects to try to add to the atmosphere.
The dramatisation of the story of the cross, this is something, KOSTI, has been close to your heart. In fact, you wrote the original Moogerah Passion Play. How did you come about to choose the sorts of scenes that you'd want in the Passion Play and how they'd fit in with staging it at Moogerah?
Look, it was such a long time ago now that my memory doesn't serve me very well anymore. But of course there are some key scenes which of necessity have to go in, and because we start the play with Christ's baptism, and then that's followed not very long after by the scenes when Jesus changes the water into wine, And then, of course, we get the scenes later on, before Pilate, etc., the scourging, and then the walk to Calvary, and of course the cross itself and the raising of the cross, which is all a very, very moving experience to actually participate in that and see it. But of course, the most important, I think, scenes are subsequent to the cross, when Jesus is actually resurrected and he comes down to the Sea of Galilee and he sees the men out fishing and he asks them, "Have you caught any fish?" And they say no. And he says, "Well, try the other side of the boat." And of course they get a whole heap of fish without any trouble at all. But in the meantime, Simon Peter has recognized the person on the beach. And so he says, "It is the Lord." And then he rips off his outer garment and he actually jumps into the Sea of Galilee. And of course, it's one of the big scenes in our play. People really love it. There's always a gasp from the audience when that happens.
I'm wondering how you organise the fish to get into the net. Hey, these things are exciting to reenact. And as you say, there are moving moments through the Moogerah Passion play. What sort of reactions do you get from audiences? Is there an emotional way that people can become caught up in the scene, given that there is a build-up in a lot of people at the Easter season?
Yes, I do believe that people are very awestruck in many instances. And certainly we've actually had people converted to Christianity as a result of having watched the Moogerah Passion play. So we've really had the whole gamut of spiritual experience as a result of the play. And it's one of the things that really keeps us going, the fact that people take away so much of the Spirit of the Lord.
Our 30th anniversary this year. Come back to Ray, who played Jesus in the first two seasons. Ray, you were also part of, helping to make the sets and, you were there in preparation. And when you first started out, there wasn't much to work with. It came together, though.
Yeah, there wasn't much to work with, but we had a lot of very enthusiastic people. My wife actually did costumes as well. One of the stories that Mary alluded to before was we needed a shed for acting in, and none of us had any money to spare. And I rang a shed company, and they said they had built a shed for some people who had never paid for it and hadn't picked it up. They said, "If you want to pay for it, you can have it." I never had any money. A mate of mine who had never been inside of a church, I don't think, he turned up at home one night, and I was telling him what was happening. He said, "Oh, I've sold some cattle." He said, "I got $4,000 sitting there," and it was $4,000 for the shed. And so he gave it to me.
Wow.
And after we'd done that first season and did the money count on what was there, I think we had about $4,020, so we were able to give him his $4,000 back. And yeah.
Now, does the show go on rain, hail or shine? Mary, you're in charge. You're on the committee this year, and people will be looking to you, no doubt, for some direction as to what happens. When we hear from Ray that he's been getting nailed to the cross and there's lightning in the background, what happens? Is there, if the weather is too inclement, do you have to change direction? What's the plan?
I don't think that we've ever had to change direction. I don't know what that says, but we've never had to cancel a performance of the play in 30 years.
I can remember on one occasion when the entire audience was sitting under umbrellas. They didn't go, they didn't move, they just wanted to be there for the remainder of the play. It was really quite beautiful.
If you go back to the original, would they have cancelled the crucifixion back in the old days?
No, they probably wouldn't have cancelled it. And but this is the thing. This time of year, for the 1st, 2nd, 7th and 8th of April, usually perfect conditions for a play like this. So it's not always the case that, you can never say never, but usually you've got beautiful conditions, haven't you, Mary?
Yes, it's the real heat is gone, and as I was saying before, we have the full moon, which just makes a beautiful backdrop. The whole we call our site the Lake Theatre, and the whole environment of the Lake Theatre, beside Lake Moogerah, the Sea of Galilee. We even have the River Jordan running down so that we can realistically enact the scenes with John the Baptist, and the boat on the lake with the fishermen. It just is a perfect setting.
You're drawing players from all over the scenic rim. That's the area just into southeast Queensland, southern southeast Queensland, a beautiful part of the world. Let me just ask you one more quick question. KOSTI, the effect on the community, on those towns that there are regulars that come out and they watch this Passion play. Is there something here that, binds people together, that is something special in the community discipleship of around your region?
Well, yes. Once they had a reputation as being part of a Bible Belt. There was an extraordinary number of churches in our Fassifern area, and I believe that a lot of that spirituality is still extant. And I believe, too, that's why the Lord showed me that star, Venus, which was very low over the horizon when I was in Ipswich, and it was pointing directly to Boona. So that is why, when I came back from Spain, because I was only away for about a month from Australia, then I was back again, looking for a suitable site. And that was in that area of the Fassifern.
Well, I don't think there's any lack of places for people who want to be a part of the audience at the Moogerah Passion play. It's on the 1st, 2nd, 7th and 8th of April. A 5 p.m. start, gates open at 3. Here's the website to get the details, moogerahpassionplay.org.au. How do you spell Moogerah? Moogerah. moogerahpassionplay.org.au. KOSTI Simons, the founder, Mary O'Neill on the current committee, and Ray WEILAND, who played the part of Christ for the first 2 seasons. Thank you so much for being part of 2020 today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.